On today's Locked On Royals Padres podcast, we're talking about Tatis returning. We're talking about gambling in sports, and we're talking about what MLB teams are surprising us and where the Royals go from here.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Royals Padres podcast, your team every day. We're going to start a new month at the end of the week, and we're going to have a lot of fun for the time being right now. It's your teams every single day for Locked On Royals and Padres. On tomorrow's Royals show, you're going to get, is this season an embarrassment to the fan base? So stay tuned for that hot take as well. Javi, what's coming up on tomorrow's show for the Padres?
For tomorrow's show, I'm thinking of just dedicating it to Manny Machado and Juan Soto, who have famously been terrible. In fact, among qualified players, I think there's 30 who have a negative F4 right now. Manny Machado is one of them. I just saw that tweet while we were writing up this podcast. So don't quote me on that, just in case I misread, as I often do. But yeah, that's probably what you folks can expect. And if it doesn't go up tomorrow, then that'll be the next thing. And we got the Cubs as well, so that should be a lot of fun coming up. So the vibes are still good, Rylan, despite being 500. Despite all the nonsense, the vibes have been good. I feel a sense of just positivity. I feel a sense of security, content. That's what I've been feeling lately, especially after this weekend.
Well, I'm glad that makes one of us. So, Javi, I gotta be honest with you, I have not felt great about baseball. Baseball is pain. Baseball is suffering for Kansas City, and that's why we've adopted the Padres as our team this year to follow here in Kansas City. As all eyes turn to the NFL draft in KC, we're still looking at baseball. And I want to ask you, Javi, what's it like to have Tatis back in the lineup?
Oh, man, it was majestic. It was majestic. The first night, I wrote about this over at Just Baseball. Everyone could check it out. It's funny that the literal first pitch that Tatis saw for the season is him aggressively fouling off a pitch and nearly jumping out of his shoes doing so. This man makes foul balls exciting, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not even kidding. Go ask any Padres fan. Go look up the footage on MLB Film Room. I was like, wow, like one of those. And he has a bad first game. I ranted about how I thought the Yahoo Sports headline that said Tatis awful in return was just felt a little bit rude. But he doesn't do much in the first game. Then he hits a home run in the second. He makes it, he made a good defensive play. It's just having him back has inspired hope. And the Padres this weekend, previously, they scored like 1 or 2 runs in 4 or 5 games. One of them being against the Braves, and I think one of them being against, or the most of them being against the Brewers, who have a good pitching staff in fairness. So their offense was dead. And then one thing we talked about, and I've talked about with others, was this idea like, can he be this spark for the rest of the offense? It's so hard to make a correlation between players' impact on other players in baseball. You could do that with your Thunder, for example, and Mr. SGA. What does he do when he penetrates in the middle at the top of the key and finds Jalen Williams open for a 3 or whatever? Did I do okay there with my amateur?
Good, very good.
Did all right? All right. Did okay? Okay. I'll take it. That it's hard to make that correlation in baseball, but aside from a Friday game in which they got the doors blown off their team 9-0, 7 runs, 5 runs, 7 runs in the 3 wins that they had. Really exciting stuff. And some of their bench players, or I should say just their lower in the lineup players, have stood out. So they're still 12-12. They have an off day. By the time people are listening to this, they'll be playing the Cubs tonight. So there's still time to get it going, but it's been a little bit back and forth, and it's nice to see, like, all right, with Musgrove back too, that's another thing. I forgot about that. With at least the pieces coming back, it's like, all right, now it feels like let's start judging the team a little bit more.
So this is interesting. I think that both teams are in this spot where it's the same but different. The Royals have been terrible, flatly terrible, and we'll
Yes, they have.
We'll talk about if this is an embarrassment or not, because I love whenever people go on Twitter and use the phrase embarrassment.
Yeah.
I think that we use it a little bit too liberal of like, when's it an embarrassing loss? And when's it
I
just
used
a
it
loss?
too recently. Can't lie.
Yeah,
I can't lie. I did.
Like when does it cross the line of, oh, that was a bad loss, dude? That was embarrassing. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. But for right now, I don't think that this is who the Royals are. Like everything has sucked. Tommy John for Chris Bubich sucks, but the hitters have sucked. The offense has sucked. Everyone sucked. But I don't think that this is who this lineup is. And you saw a glimpse of that even in the loss to the Angels on Sunday, where Bobby Witt Jr. and Jim Melendez, Vinny Pasquantino, they all hit home runs, and like that's your core. Those are your guys. Like I think that those guys are going to heat up, and it will look a bit better than striking out 14 times and getting swept 3 straight times and just being an abysmal embarrassment to baseball. So I think that the Royals are going to turn it around too, but their version of turning it around is losing 95 games and having the scoreboard look more respectable, where the Padres version of turning it around is going from 500 to possibly winning the division.
Is there a question there? I missed it.
No, there's no question. I should not be able to talk on the Padres and the Royals directions.
No.
But Javi,
Yeah.
go ahead. Well, so now you want to interject. Go ahead.
No, if you have a question, you can
time
ask it. You can ask it. Look, man, I got a notification about something. That's all. I got a little bit distracted. It happens.
Yeah. Put the phone away. Put the phone away.
I'll do it right now. Look, phone right here. Boom. Here it is.
We're potting.
It's over in the corner right there.
What is your lock screen?
A comic book cover.
Okay.
Look up Marauders number 12 if you're curious.
No one was besides me. Javi, what do you think about these two teams?
If anyone wants to talk comics, by the way, please DM me. I love talking about comic books, especially Marvel. So one thing I also just want to bring up really quickly is we talked about this before the call also about Bobby Witt Jr. and how he's been pegged as this like superstar prospect for a while, and he just hasn't been that way. Look, man, not everyone can be Tatis. Not everybody can come into the league as the top prospect and immediately produce. You guys have MJ Melendez, Puerto Rican power. I'm always going to support him. World Baseball Classic legend. But yeah, I just think with these two teams, I kind of am with you on the Royals in the sense that I don't think they're this bad. I don't think they're Oakland. They have a minus 51 run differential right now. Oakland has minus 101, which is outstanding. By the way, should we do that now? Pour one out for the A's, should we?
Yeah, RIP to the A's.
RIP to the A's. Let me just pour one out. Just go over here, whatever. Just RIP to the A's. I do think that there's at least stuff on this team. I thought that they had stuff on the team before the season. Maybe I overestimated that. I thought that they would be better than a team like Detroit, who I am just haven't been convinced yet that any of their players are good. At least I feel like they have some guys on the Royals, but I don't know, man. I think that it's also, while we're both excited about our teams, it has been a little bit early to give like an overall thing. I know we crossed off the A's last week and you crossed off. Did you cross off the Royals? I forgot.
I crossed off the Nationals.
You crossed off the Nationals. That's right. Hey, CJ Abrams, former Padre, hit a home run last week. That was really cool. I don't know, man. I don't have any other kind of vibes, I guess, initially about this that I have to offer.
Yeah, I think with the Royal stuff, look, if you listen to this podcast, you know that I'm typically a pessimist. Rightfully so, because the Royals only had 2 postseason appearances in my lifetime, and they've only played competitive baseball 4 times in my lifetime. So that's over 20 years of not playing good baseball. But even I refuse to believe that it's this bad. Even I refuse to believe that this lineup is this bad because I didn't think that a month ago. Yeah. And I put it to you like this: if these Royals hitters had this stretch in mid-June and they played to expectation in April and May, we wouldn't really be freaking out. We wouldn't really be going crazy because it wouldn't be as apparent that they're being this bad.
And first impressions matter, man.
Exactly. First impressions matter. Now there are performances that are inexcusable. Getting 1 hit, 2 hit, getting to the point where you're striking out 14 times, that's inexcusable no matter what. No matter at any point in the season, no matter who's on your team. But in general, taking the good with the bad and kind of throwing out the outliers. This is a common, terrible stretch that we knew had to happen for a team to lose 80, 90, 100 games. We knew this team wasn't going to be good. So at some point they had to have a stretch like this. Like at some point it just had to happen to make them not good. And I think that they're going to get over it and not be a good team, not be a mediocre team, but just be a respectable bad team instead of being one of the historically worst teams in all of baseball history, which is a sport that goes back 100 years.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about it's actually incredibly hard. I think every year someone is always like, this will be one of the worst teams ever. Rarely happens, right? I think the Orioles from like 2018 or something like that, it was Machado's last year, are like the closest we've actually had. Maybe the A's, but also the A's have been so bad that would it shock you if like some Rambob comes in, former Padre Echeverry Ruiz maybe at least elevates them above worst ever. It's just hard to predict that. And I think, as you're saying with the expectations, I think with the Padres, their lineup, I also don't fully believe it. There's been a lot of things you can ask me about Soto and Machado if you want later. That, like, do we really think that next to the Royals, this will be the worst hitting team with runners in scoring position in baseball? You know what I'm saying? If you go by batting average, that's it. They're still around like the 20th range and other statistics with run production, with WRC plus and et cetera. Like I can see a world in which the Padres, it's like, yeah, they fell below expectations. They were like the 13th ranked offense in the league. I could totally see it. That's possible. But like 28th, 27th, in the bottom third next to these other teams that can't hit worth a damn, that I just don't see. And I think that things like hitting with runners in scoring position is something that is there's a lot more. It's a lot more malleable of a thing. If you're just not hitting the ball hard, you're not hitting the ball hard. That tells you more. Runners in scoring position over the course of a season will change and it will fluctuate. And I think with the Pods, especially with Tatis back, that they're going to get better at that. So if that's their big issue, it's okay. And not to mention, they've at least had some other players in their lineup that have produced. Xander Bogaerts is like top 5 in F4 right now, which is rad. Love the immediate return on investment. So I just think the badness is, I think that's the way to put it. It's been so, not as bad as the Royals, but it's been so poor for us in a lot of ways based on expectations that I just don't quite believe it. I don't believe, if you told me Manny Machado would be like a 4-win player, okay. All right, I could see that. Good player, potential all-star, fine. But you're telling me he's going to be like worse than Dave Fletcher? No offense, that was mean. Or like, some Nick Maton over in Detroit? That's just, it's too much of a decline for me to believe.
What's great is that we are going to believe that Ultimate Baseball GM is the best game that you can go out there and purchase and get on the market because it's awesome. And it's great, and you're going to want it right now because the Ultimate Baseball GM is awesome. Go to probaseballgm.com and you can get 100% free boost.
Hey, Rylan, that doesn't look like baseball down there, does it?
Oh,
you have the baseball one?
Use the wrong graphic there, but sorry. Javi, thank you for doing that in front of everybody, in front of God and everybody. But you can go to Pro Baseball GM and you can find the coolest game that I've played in a long time. I've always wanted to be a Major League Baseball GM. As it turns out, it's not all that easy because guess what, folks? We're having an internal competition. All of our hosts are playing this game. It's an awesome game. I am getting dominated in this game. Like I'm getting embarrassed in this game.
I've heard the rumors. You've been slandered a little bit.
I have not won a single World Series. I've only won one
trash.
I've only won one pennant. And I've only made the playoffs 6 of my 8 seasons. So I'm not doing great. But other hosts are doing great. Javi, how are you doing?
I have not been fired yet. I'll leave it at that. Look, all I know is we've got people on the network worse than you.
Bryce
and you
Paddock.
have been slandered. Bryce Paddock, a great example, says that, I've been fired like 3 times. And my thing is, look, I know Rylan struggled, but kind of an unfair amount of blame sent your way. But that's what happens in sports, does it not? We love throwing it at people. Who's the more popular one to make fun of? Let's say in basketball terms for you. Everyone likes roasting the Lakers GM, but has he been as bad as, say, Dallas Mavericks? I don't know, man. Everyone likes jumping on what's a bad GM in baseball right now? The Rockies. And you know who's been worse? No, actually, no. That's a bad example. The Rockies have been kind of the worst. But you catch my drift, Rylan.
Yeah, Javi, that was great. Go to Ultimate Baseball GM, and you can get the game. And whenever you do, use the code LOCKEDONMLB because it will give you a great boost to start your franchise. 100% free boost to start your franchise to go up there right now to probaseballgm.com or Ultimate Baseball GM to start your dynasty today. All right, we're back. with Javi Reyes, known sailor of the ships in a smooth way. Javi, goodness, let's take a look at the power rankings. Here's the power rankings from the start of the year. What stands out?
For our listener audience, everybody go just check out on the Locked On Network. You should be able to find the power rankings bit. Padres were ranked number 2 by a collection of all hosts together, the kind of consensus. Royals were at 24. I think the thing that stands out is the Texas Rangers right now. Unlike you, the fool, I did not fully buy in. Wasn't against the White Sox after week 1. I didn't fully
Hold
buy
on,
in.
Bucko, because I also bought into the Rangers. So,
no, you're right. Actually, you did. Okay, so I'll give you credit on that one. My Cubs, who was one of my sleeper teams, they're 22. They might have to jump a few spots up. Maybe not a bunch, but look, this is what's so funny about power rankings, right? The Padres are ranked number 2, and everyone below them, Astros, Mets, Dodgers, Yankees, not Phillies. Phillies have been bad. Blue Jays, Mariners, Guardians, Cardinals, Rays, Twins, Angels, Brewers, White Sox, Rangers, Orioles, Giants, D-backs, who currently lead the division, and they were ranked 20th heading into the year. That just shows you how, I don't know about you, Rylan, but people don't get spicy enough with their preseason projections. Everyone's so scared of what happened to me. You know what I mean? When I went out and did a video, put on the glasses, and I said that Trent Grisham was going to finish top 10 in MVP. Did it turn out to be true? No, it did not. Not even close. Not even close. It was a disaster. He was like the word as bad as Cody Bellinger at the plate, who also, by the way, has been doing a lot better lately. Part of the reason of the Cubs' success. But, it just goes to show you. I wish people would be more bold, because if you are more bold, you can claim things like how Rylan just did, and I'm about the Rangers, who have been awesome so far. Their run differential is excellent. Yes, Jacob deGrom looks like he's been hurt, but plus 60 run differential is actually the second best in the American League right now. And it's better than basically every team in the National League. So shouts to the Rangers. They haven't just been good against their division and have a winning record. They've been just good. And I like that, because I couldn't stand how much people were assuming, oh, you're spending all that money just to finish in third place. Who knows? Sometimes if you try, you get rewarded. And I think that's what happened with the Rangers so far.
Look, I'm sorry, Ethan Smith. I know that you put in the group chat today how you were sad that the Pirates didn't get any respect. Javi, the Pirates came into the season in our power rankings ranked 25th below the Royals. They've obviously cleared the Royals. That's obvious. Do you believe in the Padres?
I believe in the Padres,
sorry,
yes. But the Pirates, I believe that they've ascended out of the bottom feeder, there's no hope tier, i.e. Reds. Although Reds have good stuff, but I'm saying for this season, Rockies, Tigers, A's, Nationals, teams like that. I fear that the Marlins may enter that tier at some point. And I know they've started good, but I'm really worried about that offense. I think they've ascended past that. They clearly have a plan. Brian Reynolds has been excellent. You've gotten production out of other guys like Connor Joe, and Andrew McCutchen is such a great story. I love that he's back. That's like the most pro fan thing that the Pirates have done in like a decade. It's just bringing back a guy that everybody loves, and he's been fairly productive. And also, they've done all this without O'Neal Cruz, who got hurt famously, and unfortunately, because he's super, super exciting for Padres fans that aren't aware, kind of like the Tatis of that team in a lot of way. I mean, just go look up his throws from third to first, or from short to first. I mean, just bullet arm stuff. I think he broke the StatCast rankings on a couple things last year with his arm strength. But yeah, I'm buying them to an extent. I think that they can be better than other teams above them, like the Red Sox, like the Marlins, like the Royals, like the Giants, who we ranked 19th, and they've been pretty bad lately. So, but aside from that, I want to see a little bit more, because it has been a while since this team has been good, and I still have questions about their pitching.
Great synopsis there. I don't buy into them pretty much at all. I think that I think it's just like the Royals. Like the Royals, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
A couple years ago, the Royals were the best April in baseball. They lost 100 games.
I remember that. Yeah.
They still lost 100 games. They were still terrible. Every bad team is going to play good baseball at some point. The season is too long not to. Every bad team will go 3 games, 4 games, about 500. Every single one of them will during some isolated stretch of a season. So I think it's just way immature to say that they deserve respect and they deserve, attention, and they deserve to be in the conversation. They don't. I mean, they don't. Sorry, Ethan Smith and Locked On Pirates is great, and I'm happy because if we were in their shoes as Royals fans, we'd be celebrating too. But just as a general baseball principle, I don't buy into it yet. Is that fair?
Totally fair. They've been atrocious for the past few years. Sure, there's been a plan, unlike the teams I mentioned before that are below them, but they have been really bad. So it's totally fair. And I think that, judging off of just in fairness, a great week. And I think that what helps them a little bit is also that their division is kind of weak. That they can, beat up on the Reds. They can beat up on who else is in that damn team, that damn division? What is it? Reds? Who's the other bad
Reds,
team?
Cardinals.
Cardinals.
Brewers.
The Cardinals have been really poor so far at 9-13. I forgot about that. So
Cubs.
it's totally possible that their division just isn't full of all that many great teams, and you can hopefully, get some wins out of it. This isn't the AL East or the AL West or something like that, right? So I think that to an extent, I really think it's just as simple as Pirates fans, you can be happy that there's at least something. You have something for once because you've been so disgraceful. I mean, Rylan, do you remember that play with Javier Baez a couple years ago?
I do.
Oh my gosh. I think they've at least gotten past that. That's not saying too much, but at least I think they've gotten past that image of mediocrity that they've been for so long.
Would you like to describe the play for those that don't remember it?
For those that don't remember,
first and then juked him out.
If you look at Javier Baez, if you look it up on YouTube, it'll be one of the first things. So feel free to look along as you listen to this. He runs to first base on I think it was a bunt. It was a ground ball or it was a bunt. And the first baseman gets it. He's in front of the bag and Baez starts running back to home plate and the first baseman chases him. For those who don't maybe know how baseball works, he doesn't need to do that because he has to run to first base. It's a force out. So instead he chases after him, allowing the third base runner to score. And then he has enough time to be like, yes, to be like, it worked. You know what I mean? Baez has enough time to do that and then run to first base and they overthrow the first baseman, which not only allows him to be safe, but then to advance to second. One of the more just, if someone's going to describe the
Javi?
Yeah.
Okay, you're back. You kind of went robot for us for a second.
Okay, yeah. I just saw a thing that my microphone disconnected. What was the last thing I said?
You described the play very thoroughly, very well. But right now, you need to describe how great BetterHelp is because BetterHelp is awesome. BetterHelp is where you want to be at, folks, because it's great. And it's online therapy that is awesome for you to use. You can go to betterhelp.com/lockedonmlb today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp. HELP.com/lockedonmlb. Javi, tell us about BetterHelp.
BetterHelp's great. And I have no jokes, unlike the Ultimate Baseball GM ad read that I'm sure will get us both fired by the time this episode launches. No jokes about this. I've gone through some stuff. I talked about it a little bit publicly, but I've had some issues, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that. And BetterHelp has some really cool deals and a lot of cool stuff that you can do online. So it's a lot. I just think it's an easier way to start. You know what I mean? Start your journey, start on the road to recovery for whatever you're going through. I definitely would recommend it. It's been very helpful and at least a piece. I'm not saying it'll cure everything forever. Nothing ever cures anything forever, but it's really cool to have just an outlet, a place to go to with really trained and smart, brilliant people who know how to deal with certain things. I think, are you on mute? You might be on mute.
Go to BetterHelp right now to get started. And whenever you do, go to betterhelp.com/lockedonmlb today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/lockedonmlb. Javi, I also want to tell you right now, my good friends over at Built Bar. Built Bar is a fantastic protein bar that tastes just like a candy bar. Go to BuiltBar.com. Use the code LOCKED15, get 15% off your next order. Built Bars are great pre-workout, post-workout, or even as a meal replacement or a snack. Built Bars have 100% chocolate on the outside. They're high in protein, low in calorie. They're great. What is your favorite flavor of Built Bar? Because they have so many. They have cherry barcia. They have cookies and cream. They have incredible options like peanut butter, like snickerdoodle. They have everything you can ever want for mint brownie chunk. What is your favorite flavor, Javi?
Look, I will say, I'm a fan of snickerdoodle. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that in general. I think it's actually slightly underrated as a cookie. Now, I've been roasted many times for my taste in cookies. My favorite is oatmeal raisin. Sorry that I'm not like the basic punks that swear by chocolate chip, congratulations on saying that, The Dark Knight is your favorite movie. Congrats. I hope you feel good about that. But I'm not the biggest chocolate chip guy. But I will say, aside from Snickerdoodle, it's always been Cherry Barcia. That's always been my jam. It just gets the job done. Really, the perfect right tinge of dark chocolate and a little bit of the berry. You know what I mean? The cherry. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Riley knows what I'm talking about. Everybody loves the cherry. That was a weird thing to say. But yeah, I'd recommend Cherry Barcia to everybody. It's really great.
Well, pop open a box of Built Bars today and get started. My personal favorite is Snickerdoodles, and since you stole that, I'll also say my second favorite, which is cookies and cream, which for a long time, cookies and cream was my favorite, but the Snickerdoodle flavor, the new one, is so immaculate. It's moved up the ladder. Try it for yourself. Built.com, promo code LOCK15, 15% off your next order, including at Sam's Clubs and Walmarts. So make sure that you go there, because I'm a member of a club ran by Sam, and he lets me in and gets the Built Bars. So go check it out today at Sam's Club and Walmart. BuiltBar.com, promo code LOCK15 as well. Javi, we're back.
Oh,
we're rocking and rolling.
Rocking and rolling.
I want to end today's show talking about gambling. Some news in the NFL that players once again have been suspended for gambling. Now, here's the thing: they're allowed to gamble on non-NFL activities. They're just not allowed to do it on league property, which is where they were doing it. It was on league property. Is this something that baseball should be aware of as you start to get involved with betting sponsors at a league level? It's one thing for at a media level to do it, but at a league level to do it. What's the harm in this? And do you care? Like let's start there. Do you care if a player is gambling on any sport? What's the variation of caring? When do you start caring? When do you not care? Because I got to be honest with you. I don't care if Zach Greinke put $15 on Chiefs -3.5 on against the Chargers. I don't care. What is that line for you?
I think that the sports world in general had an issue with just the idea of authenticity last week. That comes in the form of gambling, that comes in the form of cheating or whatever with Max Scherzer, which we can maybe touch on a little bit later. But for me, no, I don't care if Zach Greinke, or I don't care if Joe Musgrove, in Padres' case, places a bet on San Diego State. I understand the fear of it. You can't bet on baseball. Pete Rose knows that best, right? Obviously, you can't bet on your own league. And the NFL guys, that feels like a really big technicality. You know what I mean? There's a lot of weird, arbitrary stuff in our justice system and laws and whatnot every now and then that kind of pops up to the surface. And it's unfortunate, but it is a perfectly fine thing to be really worried about authenticity, especially with baseball, which is the sport known for all sorts of like chicanery, whether it be the Black Sox scandal, right? From back in the Tungsten Arm Doyle days, right? Like back in the day. And then you have the steroid era. You have the rosin / spider tack. They still call him Spider Cole, Garrett Cole of the Yankees. Like this is the one sport that like has that the biggest. So I would actually think that they'd be the one to be like, we don't care if you bet on something else. We've just had so many bad experiences with people questioning the legitimacy, the authenticity, the realness of our sport, that I would understand if the MLB had some problems with that. But I also, in general, don't particularly care too much, because it can also be seen as incredibly hypocritical for you to be, as you mentioned, be in bed, have all these partnerships with all these betting companies, and go out there and be like, but the players can't do it because it's now a crime or whatever you have it, right? So there's a line that must be towed, that must be walked, catwalked over, that you have to be careful about when it comes to these things, especially in the case of baseball. You muted again.
Perfectly said. I think that you have to walk the line at some point. I understand that the sky is falling routine of like, well, what if he bets on the 7th game of the World Series, purposely makes an error, ruins his life, but gains a lot of money? I think that we're past that point. I think that, I mean, maybe we're not, but I think that these guys the guys at that level that play at the World Series, and then our superstars, they get paid billions of dollars to play baseball. They're just going to play baseball and let it happen. Now, there are some guys who aren't paid at billions of dollars. I understand that. And maybe they would throw a game for the betterment of whatever it takes to bet on your sport or whatever. And betting, whatever. But I just don't think it really matters yet. And that's the thing with this whole issue. It won't matter until it matters. Like, we're just going to play the results on this very much. Like, as of now, it hasn't hurt anything. Like, the bets have been on other sports. In Calvin Ridley's case, I think that he bet on his own team to win a game. And so as a game he wasn't playing in, but he still bet on his team to win. But one day it could matter a lot. Like you could do one of those things where you throw a game, and at that point you've got to reevaluate everything. But as of right now, it's hypocritical also because these guys are human. Like whenever you get home from work, you might want to throw a few shekels down on Bucks -8 on the road in Miami. So will these guys. Like they want to do that too. And the problem is, lastly, I think that this is about, are you smart? Flatly, are you smart? Mm-hmm. If a guy really wants to bet on sports, especially as sports betting becomes so legalized now in all these states and you can just do it on your phone, hey, have his best friend bet on the game for him using his best friend's account. How would you ever know? Because the way they're getting found out right now is that they're using their own names and their own accounts, and their names are being flagged in the processing system of whatever place they choose to do these bets at. Okay, the workaround with that is pretty simple. Hey, Jack, can I use your account and bet on this game real quick? We'll split the money. Okay, sure, let's do it. And there it is. It's over. It's just like drug tests. Like if you tell a player you're going to be drug tested in 3 months on this day, guess who's not going to fail a drug test? People who are smart enough to work the system. So like I don't know. I'd be interested to hear from like an actual like employed league office official. Even if you wanted to contain it, how would you do it? Because there's so many workarounds to it.
Yeah.
So then at that point, there's no point of getting worked up about it because there's so many workarounds to it.
Yeah. Just make sure you're not doing anything crazy with your own team.
Right.
Look, I get it. I know a lot of people will be like talking about owners and whatnot, and I am always in support, especially after this last week with the A's, in support of lambasting and ranting about owners. But there's just a lot of layers to this. But I think that the NFL story really broke out because the idea that they just did it on team facility, it's like really like a whole year for that. Like seems steep. You know what I mean? And I am the type, as many of my listeners might bring up some other suspensions from the NFL that were not a year, that involved something that, dare I say, might have been a little bit worse. Not that gambling on your own sport isn't, in the case of, say, Calvin Ridley, that is an issue. But, just makes you think. You guys came really hard down on this thing. Maybe that says something about the world we live in. But I don't know, man. I think that just in general, that's kind of my vibes about it. But I do enjoy that you brought an NFL story that did make sense to translate into the baseball world. And I'm wondering now, I'm gonna take over. I'm the captain now. What was your reaction to the Max Scherzer thing? Speaking of cheating, what was your reaction to that?
I'm so over this sticky stuff, dude. Like it doesn't make sense.
Mm.
They're using rosin and water. And there's a great breakdown on John Boy, and there was also a breakdown on MLB Baseball Tonight yesterday.
Yeah, David Cohn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of you forced him to use alcohol. That was what made it sticky.
Mm.
End of story. End of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, let's just ban everything.
Mm-hmm.
You get the sweat on your body, and that's it. There's no rosin bag anywhere in the facility, and you just go.
Mm.
Or let's just stop checking in games unless there's just some absolute ridiculous mockery of a system, which is what we got to at the end of the sticky stuff era.
Yeah. And in fairness, the sticky stuff era kind of forced their hand, right?
Yeah.
You had major
leaguers. They were daring you to do something about it.
Yeah. You had major leaguers that were telling us like they would have to actually pull the ball off the grass a little bit when that would happen. Yeah. So it did get out of control and whatnot. But I also think that Max had a little bit too much freak out. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I always enjoy Max freak out.
I would say that about any other player though, except for him. He is legitimately a crazy human.
Yes, he goes off. He has his moments.
Like if a mild-mannered pitcher did that, then I'd be like, dude, calm down. But like, I saw people saying like, oh, because he was swearing on his life, like he's clearly guilty. He's just trying to, look innocent. I think maybe I'm buying into the bit too much, but I think that's legitimately who he is. Like he just, that's how he reacts to stuff.
Yeah.
especially in the environment of competition.
This is how he is. He doesn't like it when anyone makes contact with him when he's in the middle of a start.
Yeah.
Like he just sits. It's like I think I call it anger-tating or meditating instead of meditating. That's his version of it. He's just like focused and works for him, and he's totally normal when he's not starting. By the way, he's just on the bench, like having a good time. You could see him in the dugout, whatnot. I think someone made a point. I forgot. I think it was on Around the Horn, being like, "Hey, you could have just gone in and just taken it off like they asked you. You know what I mean? Like you could have just done that." But I
He
just
did
think
do
that,
that.
and then yeah, exactly. So it was just a really weird story. But I'm also with you on the over the sticky stuff thing. I'm over cheating in general, and what I mean by that is the kind of virtuous idea that fans like to just throw at every other team.
Yeah.
It's happening now with Tatis. I understand if players are annoyed more than they're right, they're being affected by it. But every now and then it's like, wow, you really like the Padres? Well, your best player is a cheater. It's like, okay, Giants fan, go Google Logan Webb, PEDs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go Google any of the other things that the Dodgers have done. A certain player who's now playing for Japan. Don't get into that when it comes to casting dispersions about fan bases. That would be my one recommendation for people. I'm not saying I'm not defending Tatis, but I just think that and with the sticky stuff thing, my lord. Although I will say the Garrett Cole one still makes me laugh. I'm sorry. Because of the way he responded to the question, as if no one prepped him for it. Because he was someone that was using Spider Tack, which granted a lot of pitchers were. And you look at his spin rates, they were through the roof. And they asked him the question about it after substance stuff came up and the ban. And yet I was like, how did you not know they were going to ask you that? And as a result, he's kind of become the face of this. Maybe Max Scherzer will swipe that away from him and become the face of this. But him, I think, is the exception because it's just so funny reading replies if he has a bad start and people just call him Spider Cole. It kills me every time. He's still one of the best pitchers in baseball, but oh man, I'm sorry. And maybe that makes me a bad journalist or whatever the heck I am, but I don't care. It's really funny with Garrett Cole. It gets me every time.
Javi, thank you for joining us. Any parting words?
My parting words are, everybody, stay calm and stay faithful. Padres are going to right the ship hopefully soon.
Profound as always.